Hello everyone, this is Genius Yoshi and today we are building Mickey Mouse Trumpeter. So call your local cavalry, give them a shout, bring out your trumpet, and let's celebrate. Because we could get the cheat out characters for way below their cost. So Mickey Mouse Trumpeter allows you to exert it, pay 2, and play any character for free. Alright, so what characters can we bring out for free? Let's look at the top end of the curve, characters that we don't get a chance to bring out very often. And there's Goofy Knight for a Day. As big stats as you can get. 10-10, quest for 4, and he's inkable. Churnbog is also pretty nice, but non-inkability is a bit of a problem, as we want to include a lot of these high-costed characters, so we can always have one to cheat into play. And well, they're not too much of a hassle in hand because we're going to be inking them. Going down from the top, I do really like Pluto, the Determined Defender. So we're going to be playing a full playset. Nice little bodyguard, in particular, if you get to play Pluto off of Mickey, you get to bodyguard Mickey so it doesn't get just completely destroyed on the swing back. Of a similar effect, there's also King Louie that heals himself pretty much every turn, while whenever another character is banished, one of yours or one of the opponents. So he's highly statsed and heals himself, which is pretty good. Cinderella with her resist 2 is some Lorcana candy, just very hard to kill, and she's pretty good to banish opponent character. And then we go down, Tinkerbell, always a nice inclusion, and it's not really what we want to cheat into play. We really want either Pluto, Cinderella, or Goofy. King Louie is kind of a filler because our other options are a little disappointing as we get into the high-costed in Amber Steel. So why did I choose Amber Steel if these top ends are disappointing? Well, there's also Mickey Mouse Friendly Face. And if we can cheat out this Mickey Mouse in play, well, we can pay 3 less for our next character, which gives us a redundant ability. Because I really expect that our Mickey Mouse Trumpeter is going to get demolished on the swing back. And because of this, if we're stuck with only high-costed characters in play, okay, we have one, but if the opponent has a bounce or removal spell, we're not really in a good shape. We want to cheat out that big character and then keep on putting out big character after big character. And Mickey Mouse Friendly Face does a good job at that. We also want to ramp, and ramp early. And Amber has a lot of these nice cards. It has Pluto, which allows you to play a character that costs one less next turn, or this turn. And that allows you to cheat out that Trumpeter faster. We want our Trumpeter out on turn 3, our big threat on turn 4. And if we can get a Pluto, then Trumpeter can just keep pumping out big threats every turn. Similar to Pluto, we also have access to Lantern, which again is ramp for characters, which we want. And that's where we're going to be spending our uninkable slots in Plutos and Lanterns so that we can get access to these big characters. In the same way, we have everyone's favorite dwarf, Doc, which is a nice middle-of-the-road threat, quest for 2, decent stats, and reduces the cost of character. So we're getting a lot of that cost reduction in play. Not to mention that Pluto can also shift into the big Pluto if we don't have our combo pieces, or if they just don't line up, or we have a Lantern, we can just use them as a shifting target. We do need some early game plays, so now we have Pluto, Lantern, Doc, and I think it makes sense to add Cinderella, Knight in Training. Since we have the big Cinderella, also she helps smooth out draws, get rid of that extra Pluto that we don't really need, the cheap one. And we're going to be including 4 copies of Robin Hood, because we now have access to the big Robin, and shifting Robin Hood, Champion of Sherwood on turn 3 is actually a fairly powerful play. So going turn 1 Robin, turn 2 potentially nothing if we don't have our Lantern, turn 3 Robin, to a turn 4 Mickey Mouse, or even just one of our earlier game plays on turn 4 while we reach for our top end of the curve, Robin can hold his own and kind of keep the fort going and make sure that we're in a fine state. All right, so looking back at this, we have decent early game. Our 3 to 5 slots suffer quite a bit, and we have our late game all lined up. So in terms of 3 to 5 slots, there's 2 options that are interesting. First one, this deck reminds me of Mufasa decks for good reason. Mufasa just likes to roll into a big character. And since we're already playing big characters to cheat out with Mickey, Mufasa already has half of its job done for it. You kill Mufasa, roll the dice, ooh, here's a Goofy. Have fun dealing with my 10-10. And yeah, so Mufasa is a nice inclusion, gives us redundancy over the effect of Mickey Mouse Trumpeter in some respect. And last card is just something I want to try out. And it's because I'm really afraid that our Mickey Mouse is going to be in a bad state after activating its ability. I want to try out Bernard, brand new agent, 1/5, and at the end of the turn, if he's exerted, you can ready a character of yours. So another option to play Mickey Mouse Trumpeter and to reuse his ability is if you can re-ready him at the end of turn. And Ruby has some good options. We have the Shield of Virtue. We have LeFou, who can just ready your Mickey after you've activated the ability. But in Amber, Bernard's kind of the next best thing. So as long as you have a Bernard in play, you can ready quest with Bernard, activate Mickey's ability, put in a big threat, end of turn, Bernard triggers, you ready your Mickey, and Mickey is ready for the next round to put another big threat in play. At least that's a theory. Let's see whether it works in action. And let's have some fun with some games coming right up. We're playing against Emerald Amethyst using our Trumpeter deck. See Lantern, Robin, Goofy, Cinderella, Robin, Pluto, and Mickey Mouse Trumpeter. This is a pretty good hand. Ink. Don't really want to ink that. Maybe I'll send away to Pluto, because I have the option of turn 1 Robin anyways, which I can shift on 3. Or just turn 2 Lantern into Mickey seems pretty good. Point opens up with Cursed Merfolks. Cinderella's going to go to the ink and land a Robin. Try and pressure that Cursed Merfolk a bit. Seems like a very interesting matchup to play, because Amethyst has very little removal, and Emerald's removal is mostly bounce. And Ursula. Opponent is likely to resolve the turn 3 Ursula. Find another Pluto. Gonna ink our small Cinderella, land our Lantern, and I don't need that Pluto, so we'll take care of that Cursed Merfolk and we'll discard it. Have to discard a card in the process. That's the downside of the Merfolks. Guess we could have also used the Lantern to play it, but I'd rather slow down our opponent. Feels like it'd be very worth our time. Ursula, I imagine? Oh, Kit. That's interesting. Opponent plays Kit to bounce our character. Our Robin back into her hand. Kit Cloud Kicker. Right, well, that makes our move significantly simpler. We'll ink the Robin that just got bounced back, and it's a turn 3 Trumpeter. What are you going to say to that, dear opponent? Hopefully nothing. I want to resolve a very fast Trumpeter wombo combo. Opponent plays a Queen's Castle, and we get to activate a Mickey Mouse Trumpeter. Pay 2. Land a Goofy? Seems good. And that's pretty much all we'll land this turn, but I'm satisfied with that. Now, unfortunately, Mickey Mouse is likely to bite the dust. So the opponent resolved an Ursula to try and pick off songs in our hand, but we've got no song. Cloud Kicker kills off our Mickey, but the damage is done. We have a Goofy. Where's Goofy? There he is. 10-10, quest for 4. Lots of value, lots of fun. Now we're going to ink a King Louie. As our opponent has 2 characters in the Queen's Castle, I want to get rid of at least one with Miss Tinkerbell, just taking out Pascal. And let's quest for 4. Boom! Knight for 1 day. Actually, should have taken out the Queen's Castle. That was a horrible mistake. I'm going to hide myself in shame right now. I've been focusing way too much on the characters. Opponent is going to get us to discard 2 cards. So it's all up to Goofy now. We've given our opponent 1 extra card off of Ursula. In retrospect, probably didn't matter that much. Find another Tinkerbell. That's interesting. Do I play the Tinkerbell, which will kill off Cloud Kicker for free? Or do I want to tackle Cloud Kicker and ping Lucifer off of Tinkerbell? I think I want to take out Cloud Kicker. Just taking out a 2-quester seems to be quite valuable at this point. So I'll take the extra damage on Tinkerbell. Land Tinkerbell number 2. No, I don't want to shift her. I want to use the lantern. Alright, 1 more point of damage, and this time I won't make the same mistake again. I will destroy that Queen's Castle. And what better to destroy a castle than a knight? Actually, it almost goes with the story. The evil queen had a castle, and we sent Mighty Goofy. Take it out. Oh, forgot to pass. Now just about closing out the game before the opponent quests to victory. Genie's going to bounce back Goofy. Thankfully, Goofy did do quite a decent job. On 6. Are you going to reach back to Goofy, or I think I should just play Doc. Doc's going to provide some ink anyways. I'll take out Ursula and ping that Genie a little bit. So that if Genie chooses to tackle Tinkerbell, at the very least we're going to get trade. I've always liked that Genie. I need a 3-4 evasive 2-quester that bounces something. If only he was inkable. That's its main flaw. Lucifer is going to force us to discard Goofy. And the opponent has dealt with our knight for a day. It's unfortunate. Opponent goes to quest. And we will follow suit and just quest for everything we've got. And with Bertrand, we can threaten lethal next turn. So opponent's going to have to do something about that. Bernard. If only we had Bernard earlier to protect our Trumpeter mouse. Opponent sacrifices a character. That's not enough. Opponent needed to use Genie to deal with one of our threats. As we get to quest for 20, well, quest for 8, and win the game with a nice honorable mention to the Trumpeter who summoned our knight. We are playing against Emerald Amber using our Trumpeter, Mufasa, Wombo Combo, High Ramp. Actually, there's not that much ramp. Some level of ramp deck. Bunch of Mufasas. Probably keep one. We have Pluto into Pluto. Probably keep it like this. And we find, oh, a Robin Hood. It's actually a very nice find early on. Opponent opens up with a Pluto. Oh, and we find another Pluto. That's too many. Robin shifts 3. So I think we have to punish that Pluto play. So I'm going to ink Tinkerbell and open with Robin. An unchallenged Pluto is just too damaging. An opponent had the opportunity of going first, so we're not going to be in a great shape. Opponent scans our hand for songs, doesn't find anything, but does find our Robin Hood. Gonna ink Robin Hood number 2. Then we go double Pluto. Because they're not inkable, so we might as well play them. Then we'll pass the turn. I guess I could have quested with Robin. Probably a slight misstep there. Trying to go too fast. Go for the quick win. Quick shenanigans. Dalmatian Puppy to the ink for our opponent. Interesting choice. Pluto generates ink. Opponent goes Darling Piglet. So it's an aggro deck. Small chumps aggro. And Ursula goes to quest. So if we ink something here, we can go for a nice 5-drop. But I'm quite tempted to just shift Robin, take out the Pluto. It's free, gets us some lore. Probably don't need the second big Pluto. So let's ink that one. Just go for the clean shift Robin Hood. Then the question is Ursula or Pluto? No, actually, there is no question. It's Pluto. Take out Pluto, gain 2 lore, and we'll pass the turn back. Highlighting Robin. 3/6, shift 3, with a nice combat ability. You gain lore if you take out a target, and you draw a card whenever he's banished. A bit of the best of both worlds, really. One goes for Dalmatian. Oh, it's a Lucky. Gonna have to go read Lucky. Is that the one? No, that's Rolly. Patch. So many Dalmatians with names. There it is. Lucky. So you can reveal top 3 cards. Put a character cost 2 or less into your hand. Which goes well with the team of our opponent's deck. Just going for a lot of cheap characters. And whenever you quest, if you have 4 or more other characters in play, your other characters get +1. That is quite a threatening ability. Now the opponent shouldn't be questing that heavily, because we get to punish it. I really wish this was an inkable card. So now I'm going to have to ink my Tinkerbell, activate Pluto, and now I can shift. Shift Pluto. Off of the bonus ink, and now we have our 3/8 bodyguard. You're going to take out Piglet, and neither of these is overly threatening. Actually, Wendy quest for 2, so I'll take out Wendy off of Robin Hood, gain 2 lore, and we're packing a punch. Remember, we're playing against a very aggressive deck, and we're on the draw. So this is going pretty well. Now the opponent has to deal with Daddy Pluto. 3/8 heals for 3 every turn with Bodyguard. So he's going to be protecting our small Pluto as well. Opponent picks up a card off of Lucky and goes Simba. Bodyguard mode. And Ursula is going to miss. We're mostly all characters deck. Yes, we shall heal. It's only from this character. Oh, and we find another Pluto. Ooh, that is tempting. I think we go for it. Sorry, Mufasa. You go away. We're going to play another Pluto, and we're going to wipe out our opponent's field. Superstar Pluto. Superstar Pluto. And Robin's going to gain us some lore. Being well protected by a pair of very loyal pups, dogs. Super dogs. Mighty pups. Alright. I'd like to see you come back from this, opponent. Actually, I would prefer if you didn't, because that would mean that I'd lose. As opponent goes for Pongo, our Plutos get fully healed, and now our only play is play a small Pluto, which is a bit disappointing, but we get a quest with the gang. I do really like Pongo Determined Fodder. The ability to keep on drawing cards every turn as long as you have ink is pretty good. Opponent will get to trigger it once this turn. Finding a Dalmatian puppy. It's really a battle of the dogs. Except we have the super dogs that keep on healing themselves. Okay, that's just too many Plutos now. I'll land a Tinkerbell. Tinkerbell will ping everything for 1. We can take you out without losing a beat. And I would like to take out Pongo because it's a bit threatening. It doesn't really slow down my clock. We're still winning next turn. We go to 16. Unless the opponent can whip up a Be Prepared, it's gonna be game. And we take the game using our Mighty Pups and a pretty fast ramp into those shifting characters. We're playing a mirror match. Steel Amber against Steel Amber. But we're not playing the song variant. Oh no, we aren't. We're playing Trumpeter. And we draw a pair of Plutos, a Trumpeter. So I want to keep one of the Plutos. Turn 1 Pluto. Turn 2 Lantern. Turn 3 Trumpeter. Seems like a good curve. And we have a Mickey Mouse and a shifting Pluto. That's pretty ideal. Let's send away one of the Plutos and keep the rest. That brings us to turn 1, where Robin's going to get inked. Then we get our small pup to enter the play. Problem is our opponent's playing Steel, and Steel has plenty of removal options for a Mickey Mouse Trumpeter. As we continue with our ramping plays, Pluto and Lantern will allow us to... Well, maybe we can even Mufasa next turn. Oh, no, we can't. Opponent decides to take out our Pluto with the dreadful song, Let the Storm Rage On. Opponent follows it up with a Lantern and a Robin. Alright, well, if that's the case, I think Pluto goes away. And with our Lantern, we get land Mickey Mouse. Trumpeter of Doom. I'll get to cheese out the big threat next turn unless the opponent has another Let the Storm Rage on, which honestly is highly possible. Opponent shifts Robin. Strength for Raging Fire comes in. And unfortunately, Mickey Mouse has had his eyes closed, focusing on that trumpet. And, oof, found a whole new world. That's rough. Alright, well, if that's how you want to play it, you can ink a dock, play lantern number 2, and off of 2 lanterns, resolve another Mickey. Honestly, I'm pretty sure our opponent has an answer for it. But it allowed us to play lantern and the spell, which is really what I wanted at this point. Now the game plan is just slapping big threat after big threat and hope that it's enough. It could be. The Ember Steel is not overly well equipped to deal with big threats. Super well equipped to deal with 0/1s that don't have ward. And that's why Amber Steel is still tier 1. In my opinion, it's always been the best deck. I know. Ruby Amethyst. A lot of people will disagree with me. That's okay. Alright, well, we're going to ink our Cinderella. And for 7... what do we want to land? Land our own Cinderella? It's a pretty big threat. Need to start taking some stuff down. Opponent's landing more threats. Strength for Raging Fire for 7. One-shots our Cinderella. Yeah. That's rough. I mean, we've played some ramp. We've played a card on turn, and every turn our opponent just wiped out whatever we put on the battlefield. Then our opponent still has a large amount of cards in hand. I mean, that's hard to beat. I can try to be ink efficient and land Pluto. Although Tinkerbell is a bit of a bigger threat. So let's land our Tinkerbell. Here comes 7 points of damage. It's not enough, but it's just that it's spread around. If we find another Tinkerbell, that's probably about as good as it gets for us, because it gets rid of Stitch, the Cinderellas. Never mind that. Stitch Rockstar comes in. Raging Fire. Again, we can't keep a threat for more than half a turn. And the opponent is going to close out the game. Robin Hood's a nice addition to the list. There's also Bare Necessities, I imagine. Without access to any kind of removal, be prepared, grab your sword. We are at the mercy of our opponent. We will land a Robin. And scoop, basically. In the face of a top tier deck that played quite well. And drew pretty well too. Good game, opponent. We got crushed. We're playing against a Ruby Amber deck, using our Trumpeter Mickey Mouse. We find a Goofy Lantern. It's a nice opening, We are missing the Mickey. So let's send away King Louie and Tinkerbell. See if we can find a Mickey Mouse Trumpeter. Find Mufasa and Cinderella. That's acceptable. So turn 1, we're going to ink our Cinderella and go for Mr. Pluto. The ramping man's best friend. The pup that gives us ink and can shift into a much bigger dog. So the opponent finds one to play on turn 2. Find another Pluto. That one's going to go straight to the ink. Although maybe I should have sent Robin instead. We'll drop Lantern and pass the turn. See what our opponent's follow-up is. One option is to just shift Pluto on turn 3. Opponent goes Dock, so opponent's playing big stuff. Probably a Mufasa deck as well. Gonna ink our Robin. We can play a 5-drop here. Question is, do we sacrifice our Pluto or do we run our Pluto onto the battlefield? I think I want to run Pluto out here. So let's shift. It's not so bad, not so bad. A 3/8 bodyguard that self-heals by 3 every turn on turn 3. I'd say that's pretty decent. And now we have a threat that'll prevent our opponent's character from going too haywire. Let's see what our opponent lands. Opponent inks a Mufasa. That is concerning because our opponent had 5 ink on the battlefield, or 6 actually. Prince Eric comes in. And we find a Robin Hood. I'll keep on increasing our ink. Opponent wants to use Prince Eric to sacrifice it against our Pluto. That's fine, because we'll land a Mufasa. Do you want to let Prince Eric do his thing? Nah, let's just pass. Prince Eric, whenever it's banished, you may banish anything you want. It's a fun effect. It's actually fairly hard to avoid now that I think about it. Expert Helmsman. I'm not sure how much of an expert he is if he just wants to be sacrificed. That's a different story. Opponent goes to quest with Dock and lands a big Pluto himself. Battle of the Plutos. That looks like our opponent misstepped and forgot to exert Pluto. So we're going to have access to that Dock. So Pluto gets to take out Dock. Can run Mufasa into Prince Eric, but our opponent is just going to take out Pluto. Better ink our 9-drop. Then we can land our Robin. Do we want to take out Prince Eric first? That's really the question. If we do, opponent takes out Pluto. We're left with Mufasa. We're playing the Mufasa roulette next turn. Otherwise, Eric sacrifices itself to Pluto. Mufasa doesn't have any damage. Yeah, I think I'd rather force it now. I don't think we're going to get to play the Mufasa roulette just yet. Unless Pluto goes out. Then we'll land our Robin Hood. Who gets to be safe? Well, safe from the crashing helms captains. Robin Hood, 3/6, nice positive ability, skilled combatant. Not overly great when the opponent has a 3/8 wall that self-heals every turn. But those are some small details that we'll deal with. Opponent lands a Maui. Don't overly care about that. Opponent gives us the Mufasa roulette. What do we get? Oh, we get a dock. So with dock, Tinkerbell's not in a good position here. But I do really like having access to double Cinderella. So land 1 to begin with. We really have to go through Pluto first. That's alright. And the Mufasa mirror match. Who has the bigger threats? My opponent has Maleficent Dragons, I'm pretty sure. So I'll have to steer clear of those. Oh no! Oh no! There's a Rapunzel. And suddenly the opponent outcards us dramatically. And lands a small piglet. One can quest for 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Find ourselves a second Robin. Just land another Cinderella. And pass the turn back. Maybe I should have quested with Cinderella. That's also an interesting option. Maui's reckless, so he would have been forced to challenge her, and Maui would have lost the trade, leaving Cinderella with 1 health. Then Pluto can challenge. It's interesting. And it gives us 3 lore, which is very non-negligible. Opponent goes to quest with Piglet. So it's going to be a big combat day. Pluto goes into quest as well. Bodyguard the other ones. And here comes Perdita. Perdita brings back a small Pluto from the discard pile. So we find Bernard, which really is not what we were looking for. Alright, let's start by taking out the bodyguard. Then you can take out the Piglet with Doc, take out Rapunzel with Cinderella, and just wipe out the board as much as we can. Then you can land another Robin. Just more of our big threats, really. Double Robin, double Cinderella, facing against 14 lore. Opponent having the potential for 3 more. Honestly, there's not much we can do to stop our opponent. Find another lantern. Not what we want. And Perdita goes to quest. Whenever she quests, brings back Piglet. And if your opponent has anything that can gain lore in their hand, like that LeFou, that'll be it. There's a Stitch. Fortunately, we have no answer for that. Land Cinderella. Pick up a Mickey Mouse Trumpeter, which really is not what we're looking for. We can't quest for nearly enough. Can bring it to 12, make it a slightly closer game, but it's not enough. As we take a defeat in the mirror match against a Mufasa go wide Perdita deck, which really is not a mirror match at all, but was a fun game regardless. We are playing against Amethyst Emerald, colors with low levels of removal. Love it. As we find ourselves with a Mickey Mouse Trumpeter, Robin, a pair of Mickeys, and Mufasa. I'll keep one of the Mickeys. And I'll mulligan for a Lantern or a Pluto, especially going first. See if we can find one. Bernard, Goofy, Mufasa, Pluto, and a Lantern. We find a Lantern. Alright, we're all set to go. Let's open up by inking our Pluto. I'll pass a turn back. Opponent inks Crab. Ooh, and lands Chernobog's Follower. That's an interesting one. We'll ink our King Louie and land our turn 2 Lantern. Let's do a quick check-in on Chernobog's Follower. Character can just sacrifice itself whenever it quests to draw a card. So let's curse the merfolks. Some level of aggression from our opponent. Find the Cinderella. I kind of want to land Bernard with Mickey to protect it. If that's the case, then I probably won't need my Mufasa roulette this game. Let's go for Mickey. That's why we're playing the deck. Mickey Trumpeter. Getting ready to call for a Goofy. Ursula comes in. All threatening. Now what's the worst that our opponent can do? Double bounce? Probably is about the worst. I think I have to land a Goofy here. Trumpeter, our 10-10 4-quester. Yeah, there's no real nice tempo to play Bernard. Just gonna ink it. Make use of the Lantern and land Cinderella. So I'll have a follow-up threat. If the opponent goes for a double song here, I probably don't need a second Goofy. Pass a turn back. Yeah, if the opponent goes Mother Knows Best, double bounce, Goofy. Ooh, double card draw. That's gutsy. Sure, you get +3 card advantage, but that means you don't have anything to deal with our mouse. That means we can drop a lot of stuff next turn. By a lot of stuff, I mean Cinderella. So probably not that much. Well, I guess we can shift for 5. Activate ability for 2. No, we have 5. Yeah, we can be at most at 6. So yeah, we can play one big thing next turn. Then maybe you just want to shift Cinderella to take out that Ursula. It's quite threatening. And we'll keep Mickey's ability to special summon more characters. Oh, there's a Madam Fox. Never mind, Mickey's not gonna live. Find another Lantern. So I think we want to shift our Cinderella here. can afford to lantern our way into it. No, we cannot. I lied. Now let's ink Mickey. Shift our Cinderella. Now we have Cinderella Goofy in play. I no longer care too much about that cursed merfolk, so I'll send Goofy to take out Madame Min. Send Cinderella to take out that cursed merfolk. We have big threats, we have a lot of ink, and our top deck is full of awesome goodness. Not to mention we quest for 7 on board. That's non-negligible. Although I am afraid of that mitt full of cards that our opponent has. If our opponent's playing some bounce and discard, we could be in for a surprise. Thankfully we're still on the turns of 5 ink. Ursula comes in. That's when we need the song, so Cinderella can just challenge Ursula. Alright, well, we start questing. Boom, 7. No Mother Knows Best. Did I jinx it? I think it was all in the cards. At least we pick up both Cinderellas. So there's that at least. Let's see what our opponent is going to land. It's Goofy's only weakness. Getting bounced, or killed, or banished, or frozen. One and only weakness. Alright. Well, we can probably ink Cinderella, play Cinderella. Actually, we can go up to 9 again. 6, 7, 8, 9. Why don't we go again, Mr. Goofy? Who says we need a trumpeter to bring out the knight? There's Genie, so more bouncing shenanigans happening. Goofy! Goofy just keeps on slipping. Or goofing, as we like to call it. Opponent draws endless cards off of Ursula's ability. Ursula, which we've seen quite a lot due to her super high power level. And we find a Mufasa. Mufasa is a fun way to play with things here. So you have 9 potential. Opponent just has so many cards. And there's the potential for multiple Mother Knows Bests again. I could go Cinderella, the small one, picking up another Goofy that will discard immediately. And we'll land a Mufasa. Can keep Doc in play. Fiki's a challenger. Alright, we'll pass the turn. We'll take a look at what that Rafiki does. I haven't seen him very often. Rafiki. Mystical fighter. Looks fantastic. Challenger 3. Whenever he challenges a hyena character, takes no damage. Well, there's very few relevant hyena characters. It's kind of a weaker Captain Hook in Amethyst. Opponent draws more cards off of Merlin Bunnies. 37 to 44. But the Ursula trigger is still available. And I'm afraid that Mother Knows Best. Ooh, Ursula goes to Quest. A whole lot of questing. Madman bounces back Genie. Alright, if that's how you want to play it. Opponent can quest a 20 next turn, so we have to stop that. And our opponent clearly wants to play Genie. We can quest for 5 to 14. But is that helpful? I wouldn't mind just sacrificing my Mufasa for something. We can go Ink Goofy, Shift Cindy, play Mufasa. I kind of like that. Shift Cinderella. Ink Goofy. Go for a second Mufasa. And we have to take out that Ursula. So Mufasa's going to take out Ursula. And we shift. 14. If the opponent bounces Cinderella, leaves the Mufasas alone, it's probably the worst thing for us. Mufasa, the betrayed leader. Merlin Bunny. Fetch a card for opponent. Can quest a 19. $18. Yeah, because the bunnies fought. Not sure there's a way out. We're gonna play the Mufasa roulette. See what we can hit. But we don't really have nice enter the battlefield abilities. We don't have a Maleficent Dragon or Elsa. Mother knows best. Alright, well, we'll get to play the Mufasa roulette at least once. Let's take out the Madman. And we'll get to hit Bernard. Alright, Bernard goes in play, tapped. Play a nice Mickey, and we'll pass the turn to our opponent. And let them close the game. A well-deserved win for our opponent. As a turn 4 Goofy just didn't do quite enough. I hope that you've enjoyed this video featuring Mickey Mouse Trumpeter and associated shenanigans of an Amber Steel high ramp deck. Now, after playing the games, Bernard has been disappointing because he's in the same slot as Mickey Mouse Trumpeter. You really want to drop the Mickey, activate the Mickey, put in the big threat, and you never really have a nice spot to play that Bernard to protect Mickey. So in retrospect, I'd probably get rid of Bernard and maybe put in a beast tragic hero that would allow us to draw some cards, have another nice 5-drop into the deck. Because the deck ramps up pretty well. The lanterns, docks, Robin Hood shenanigans do work out pretty well. Actually, in a lot of the games, the deck performed quite well without Mickey Mouse Trumpeter, which is a shame for the namesake of the deck, but talks to the solidity of the Pluto, Robin Hood, and of course Tinkerbell, Cinderella type of scenario that we're used to. Mufasa also does a decent job, but I must say Robin Hood, Champion of Sherwood, quite impressive. That Pluto, Determined Defender, is quite a potent threat. And in a list like this where you want to ramp to cheat out something pretty fast, cheap Pluto is useful. Shifting into the bigger Pluto is quite a nice addition. And maybe what we need is to play a bit more top-end bodyguards. If we had another super big bodyguard in either steel or amber, that would probably have a better effect at protecting Mickey Mouse. Maybe remove the Bernard, remove maybe a King Louie, and play with a big bodyguard that we get to drop on the battlefield. Overall, the deck was a lot of fun to play. It's nice to be able to just keep on dropping these big characters. The deck is not a competitive threat to the metagame, as we've seen in the match against Amber Steel Songs. We can get slapped left and right and just out-controlled by our opponent's deck, and as long as they prevent us from setting up a ramp or prevent us from laying down our big threats one after the other, the deck doesn't have very good answers to that. But if you like playing big stuff and want to have fun with it, I'd encourage you to try it out. It's definitely fun to play. It's nice to be able to play some cards like Goofy Knight for a Day that we don't typically have a home in the deck. So this is the home for it, and I hope you've had a good time watching the deck and the gameplay. Don't forget to leave a comment below, drop a like to the video, and subscribe if you haven't subscribed yet. And on that note, I'll wish you a great day, and I'll see you next time.